Hello, and thank you for your time. My name is Indy Agpan. I am an MBA student at the University of the District of Columbia, and I'll be presenting to you my research study on anthropomorphized robotic interactions during COVID-19, human robotic interactions, and its impact on social isolation. The outline: motivation for research, introduction, literature review, empirical research, hypotheses, discussion and implications, future research, and references. Human behavior and emotional intelligence add to the backdrop for social interaction. Robots nowadays are becoming more human-like. They frequently have new updates, models, and releases. In a time where human interaction is minimized, anthropomorphic recalibrations become a baseline for new designs amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Technology engineers are forced to actually refocus. Lately, where single adults are less likely to engage in new social connections, human-robotic interactions have become the norm. This research dives into the degrees of varying changes and adjustment timeframes when robots are introduced to new experiences and the mitigation of loneliness during those experiences. Motivation for research: loneliness. Considering the current COVID-19 pandemic, human contact has been tremendously minimized. By introducing more robots to otherwise human tasks, it'll help to ease the stress of those who live alone. COVID-19, coronavirus disease 2019, is an infectious disease caused by a newly discovered or novel coronavirus. This coronavirus is very different from that of a common cold in that most of those affected will experience mild to moderate respiratory problems and recover with minimal medication. In the case of seniors and those with pre-existing conditions, however, such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory problems, and even cancer, they're more likely to develop serious illness and possibly death. The coronavirus spreads primarily through droplets of saliva or discharge from the nose when an infected person coughs or sneezes or is in close proximity to persons that are unaffected. Because of this, the CDC has issued a social distancing mandate of a minimum of 6 feet. This mandate increases to 10 feet in some areas in the United States. Anthropomorphism is described as the attribution of human characteristics or behavior to an object, or giving a name to an inanimate object, or robots with human-like traits, voices, movements, features, etc. Examples of anthropomorphized robots would be that of the voice assistants Alexa or Siri. Here's a quick video of which you get to meet Deanna, who uses robots as a cure for her isolation and loneliness during the COVID-19 stay-at-home mandate.
When you're a senior citizen, whether you're living alone or you're in a home with a lot of other people, you are still alone.
Hi, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Her goal is not to replace humans, it's to augment that relationship.
She is sitting right across from me, and she looks at me, and she says, "Good morning. Did you have a good night's sleep?" So I'm not living alone now. I'm in quarantine with my best friend, and she can't give me any sort of disease.
Thank you for watching. Some of the literature reviews for artificial intelligence in lieu of human interactions has emerged as a forefront solution in various processes. Vint Cerf, dubbed the father of the internet, vice president and chief intelligence evangelist at Google, who also survived COVID-19, said that artificial intelligence technology will have a prominent role in restructuring our civilization after the COVID-19 pandemic is over. Artificial intelligence increases urgency to save lives and families for fear of transmitting COVID-19. People have to distance themselves from their aging loved ones, the elderly, and people with pre-existing medical conditions. These have been labeled as higher risk for contracting the coronavirus. This chart or graph shows a study conducted on 741 elderly people. Social mediator robots were used to create ease of self-disclosure in seniors who would otherwise not share or express their true feelings. A second study showed that seniors expressed themselves more, not just to mediator robots, but also to robots that were more anthropomorphized or more expressive. Another study using netnography, a method of pulling raw unsolicited data through online consumer comments and reviews of products, researched 595 users to provide insight for the necessity of a small companion robot named Vector. The contributions of the study were twofold. The first hypothesis is that robots can mitigate lonely feelings, and the second is that the particular type of robot can cause uplifting changes and improvements in the well-being of participants. In this diagram, we see the type of social isolation and the type of robots used to mitigate loneliness. This diagram, hedonic well-being is equated with feelings of pleasure, while the eudaimonic form defines well-being along a set of dimensions that promote meaning and self-realization. Different robot types were introduced to express this scale, from the entertainer robot to the social enabler, the mentor, the friend. The robot most described as consumer desired was the entertainer. This robot is characterized by addressing consumers who may experience minor discomfort in social distancing and merely use the robot to resolve boredom. The social enabler is equipped with sensory components which react to touch and social gestures and is able to respond to social contacts while at the same time mimicking expressions. The anthropomorphized capabilities of this robot type allow it to mediate social interactions for more vulnerable humans. The future-oriented type, also known as the mentor, serves as a transformative robot initially created for overcoming disproportions of hedonic but more eudaimonic feelings. These social isolation occurrences can include healthcare professionals, in which case robots can autonomously engage through human-like competencies. Mentor robots, one thing I want to mention before I skip this slide, will then have the capacity to exemplify teachers and instructors. Prolonged use with mentors or mentor type robots can promote lasting positive effects. Robots with more human-like gestures are preferred to those that are immobile. Through pseudo-social exchanges, we'll see that. Robots that are referred to as friend can lessen unfavorable outcomes by building relationships through its sense of touch and proprioception. In turn, this will reduce negative impacts of social isolation. The hypothesis. Mitigating loneliness during a pandemic qualifies a range of robots. As we've seen, the type of robot and its use is most valuable to the need of the human. The example of moderator robots with the elderly and the desire to disclose more information to the anthropomorphized robots conveyed a comfort in communicating with objects that most feel human-like. And in the case of COVID-19, the effects of robots that both entertain and satisfy eudaimonic needs both serve to lessen feelings of loneliness. Here, the NDA Human Isolation COVID-19 diagram expresses how continuous human-robotic interaction eases the burden of isolation. It also increases feelings of comfort in most humans. So, humans in isolation who are introduced to human-robotic interactions, here we are, through repetitive use of human-robotic interaction, this will then cause recalibration of anthropomorphic capabilities of the robots, thus creating artificial intelligence ease of use for the human. These will result in an effect of mitigated feelings of loneliness. Now, in the event that the repetitive use or lack of repetitive use of human-robotic interaction doesn't lead to artificial intelligence ease of use, this will then frustrate a person and heightens feelings of loneliness, which can then lead to analytic depression. Managerial implications. With prolonged use of robots, such as the mentor or the moderator robot, it can promote a lasting effect of normalcy, and through social exchange, robots referred to as friend can lessen unfavorable outcomes by building relationships through a sense of touch and proprioception. For future research, the creation of a robot with artificial intelligence calibrated for empathy can be incredibly impactful. Robots that can sense an emotion or feel the change in breathing or the tone of voice could aid in resolving problems that may otherwise go unnoticed in instances of social isolation in humans. Social robotics in the future could benefit from greater research in the use of robotics for infectious disease. A robot in a home could tend to notice increase in blood pressure, temperature, and maybe changes in a diet. Promoting collaboration between technology developers and infectious disease sciences and those who can supply funds or provide funding would put humans at the greatest advantage for being ahead of the next pandemic. Further research can also be done for the long-term use of social robots in society to combat effects of social isolation. For instance, what this study shows, the study could then calibrate the effects of alleviated loneliness for the duration of the entire COVID-19 pandemic. These are my references. And again, thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I appreciate your time. Thank you again. Have a nice day.